Okay, I've got my wheels in place, my car mask, but I would need to include a passenger or rather a driver to this. So just having a little fun here. I downloaded a photo of Lady Gaga and we'll let her drive. So I'll create two new layers because I'm going to need to have a layer with her photo in it and then a second layer to create a mask. So above the wheels layer, let me generate a new layer. Double click it, name it Gaga. And then directly above that, another layer, call it Gaga Mask. Okay. I guess I'll go down to the layer called Gaga and go to my library and just drag in the image. And I'll just place it sort of off to the edge here for now, and then I'll position it later, and I think I might need to resize it as well. But let me go up to Gaga Mask, and with my pen tool, and I'll zoom in here, I'll draw the shape of that window. So I'll just start down here. And one more cornered section. Click on there to generate a straight line coming out of it, and then close that shape. And I'll just go to my bucket tool and fill that. Then double click on the key line, the stroke, and delete it. So there's my shape that will dictate the mask. And if I go right now and right click on Gaga Mask, I can convert that to mask. And yes, it looks like everything's disappeared, but that's just because my masked image is outside of the range of the mask. So if I want to edit this, it's a good chance to show how to edit. I can simply click the unlock, and I'll actually keep the mask graphic locked, but I'll grab this and position that. And I can see also that it's going to be a bit large, so I might as well go in and resize that with my free transform tool. Hold my shift key down, reposition that some. And if I turn on the lock, I should see the results of the mask. And there we go. And actually, I'm happy with that. So once again, to edit a masked image or the mask itself, you just unlock the layer and you can access it. Once it's locked, it does manifest itself as the mask. Excellent time to save my file. And I think we're done with respect to the car movie clip itself. We've got the passenger, or the driver rather. We've got the masked car. We've got spinning wheels. Let me just do a quick test movie and see what we've got so far. Okay, so we've got a car with wheels that spin. Now we're going to go back up to the scene one timeline at this point. And again, you can see that it's all in a single frame. I'm actually going to name that layer car. Save my file. And I'll reduce the view. Control minus. And I'll create a new layer for the hill. I'll call it hill. And I'm going to drag it below the car. And I'm just going to go in with my pen tool and draw a landscape, if you will. Nothing too severe, but I'll give it a bit of a hilliness to it. A little up and down here, and then coming out. So I'm going beyond the parameters of the movie size, and I'll click on here because I need to close this off. Actually, let me undo that a second. Click on that again. As I was saying, I need to close this off to create the fill shape. So then I go in with my bucket tool. I'll just pick a tan color and fill that. Save my file. And there's my raw vector shape as a hill. Now I'm going to span this over many frames. I think I'll just start by going to frame 40, but I will let you know right now I'm probably going to span it out to roughly 100 frames. So you know what, actually, let me just set this to tiny. And I'll bring it across to 90 frames. So I'll just go to frame 90 on the hill there, hit F5 to span that out. And I'll go back to frame 1. And I'm going to right click on that first keyframe in car and create a motion tween. And then drag that motion tween to span the same amount of frames, 90 frames. Now my playhead is on the last frame here. Now I'm going to move my playhead to the first frame. What I'm going to do is create a simple animation with the car moving across the stage. So I'll start by dragging it over here, and then go to my last keyframe in that motion tween and drag it pretty well off the stage to the far left. My intention here is to copy this top curved line of the hill and substitute this straight line in my motion tween with the copied line, and that way I guarantee that it follows that curvature. Then I'll need to do some tweaking, as you'll see shortly. But right now I've got my motion tween with one keyframe and one property keyframe on the last frame. So let me go into my hill, highlight it. Now I can shift click on the different sections here, and you can see that I've highlighted just the top. I do not want to highlight part of the square. I'll just copy that, highlight my car, highlight the motion guide, go edit, paste. I can go paste in place, and you see what that did? It substituted the motion guide, and if I drag my playhead across, it follows. Now there's a couple of things I want to deal with. First of all, I don't want the car to look like it's halfway down the hill. So in fact, I'll grab that whole motion path, just drag it upwards, and if I want to constrain it, I can hold my shift key so that it looks like the tires are on the ground. Pretty well like that, I guess. And now if I drag my playhead back and forth, it's still not looking very realistic. So let me go back in here with this highlighted, go down to my properties, and you'll notice under rotation here, we've got orient to path. I'll start with that. And actually, let me show, it's actually going backwards right now. It's starting to do something, but it's going backwards. So I want it to go forward. So let me highlight all of those frames. Right click on them. I'm going to reverse the order. And near the bottom here, I've got reverse keyframes. And lo and behold, now it's going in the direction. But it looks like it's popping wheelies. And if that's what I wanted, great. But it's not what I want. So I'll go back to this first keyframe. And this is a case of manually tweaking it. I did do the orient to path, so it starts the process. It starts to kind of go downhill. But I can tweak this further by going to my free transform tool. And if I just move my cursor just outside of one of those anchor points, I can start to orient that. And if I drag across, it's better. And if I still didn't like it, I could tweak it a bit more. Let me go to this last frame and tweak that a bit like this, and just go in here. And that's much better. Now if I want it to be even more precise, I could go into anywhere here and create a keyframe, and I could just go insert keyframe, and I'll say all, and again just a subtle tweak there. And I could do that as often as I would feel necessary, but right now, at least for the most part, it looks like the car is driving. Now, you know what? I need to go back and adjust it right here. So I'll insert another keyframe, right click, insert keyframe, select all, and again just do that fine tuning, and then preview it by sliding Okay, so that is how you can orient to path and tweak an animation by adding keyframes. Definitely should save my file. So that pretty well takes care of the car and the hill. So what do we have left to do? We have the moving clouds, the birds, and I think in this case I will simply change the background color. So let me just change the background color, modify document, background color, and I'll just pick a light blue. It might be a bit too bright. Let's try that for size, and I'll say that's good for what I want to do. Once again, I will save. Okay, so the next step are the animated clouds and the animated birds.